I'm Seth Muncie with Disc Golf Strong, and you're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast.
You're listening to the Chain Clankers podcast with your hosts, Quentin Ferris and Horatio Gonzalez. Follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers. Welcome in everyone to the Chain Clankers podcast. I'm your host Quentin Ferris here as always with Horatio Gonzalez. We got another fantastic episode for you guys today. Today is an episode you're going to want to listen all the way to the end. Now, of course, we always want you to listen all the way to the end, but this is one specifically you're not going to want to miss a single second. There is so much great information in this episode. This episode, we sat down with Seth from Disc Golf Strong, and if you don't know what Disc Golf Strong is, we're going to explain it, but this is the arguably number one way to get better as a disc golfer and be a healthier disc golfer and be able to play disc golf much longer into your life. Horatio, what are some things that people can expect from this episode?
Yeah, this was an awesome episode. If you are a new player, or even if you've been playing for a long time and you want to take your game to the next level, this is a great episode. A lot of golden nuggets in there. We talk about warm-up routines. We talk about exercises, how to avoid injuries. A lot of good info on that. He talks about working with pros. And then one thing that we didn't really mean to talk about, but we got into a little bit, was the culture of disc golf and how we can all be ambassadors of the sport, grow the sport, and make it a more professional, respectable sport for others to see, but also continue to just have fun and to enjoy it. So listen till the end. There's a lot of good stuff in here. It's a little longer than our usual episodes, but it's a really important one. So definitely stick around for it. But yeah, let's get to it.
What is going on, everyone? Welcome into the Chain Clankers podcast. We are sitting here live with Seth Muncie from Disc Golf Strong. If you've never heard of Disc Golf Strong, by golly, you are going to get a whole lot better at disc golf today. You're going to learn how to work out for disc golf. You're going to learn how to be a healthier disc golfer. And at the end of this podcast, I think you're going to learn to become a much better disc golfer. I'm super excited for this. I know there's a ton of valuable information that we're about to discuss, and I am very excited to bring Seth in. Seth, how are we doing today, man?
I'm doing great, guys. Thanks for having me on. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, for sure, man. We appreciate your time coming on, and we know you're a super busy guy, so definitely appreciate the time that we're having to talk to you today. So let's kind of just get started, and let's talk about you first. So how did you first get involved with disc golf?
Yeah, so I've been throwing a Frisbee since I was a little kid. I remember growing up in Southern California, just out on the beach with my brother and friends in front of the house. I mean, we were always throwing a Frisbee, and we just fell in love with it. We'd play object golf. We had no idea what disc golf was. This was, the 90s, early 90s, mid-90s. Had no idea what disc golf was. I remember actually getting a golf disc I don't know, I was probably like 15. And I remember throwing it, and it just meat hooked to the left. And I was like, what the heck is this? And I just I never picked it up again. We weren't on the internet or anything. And so I didn't, ever get into disc golf. And I wish I did. I grew up just 45 minutes south of Huntington Beach, where Paul's from. And I didn't know about the course there. So I had a full life of just throwing Frisbees and watching disc fly that way, played a little bit of ultimate. And after I got out of the military, I went to college. I worked on an ambulance, went to college, got my degree in kinesiology, strength and conditioning, and went up to Monterey, where I live now, California. So just south of Santa Cruz, De La Viega. And I started throwing, this was like 2012, 2013. Realized that there was a disc golf club nearby. And by that time I had heard of disc golf, obviously just from throwing Frisbees and ultimate stuff, but I didn't really know much about it. Went out to the course and started playing, met some people. And I thought, wow, I'm having a blast, and, getting into the community, just having a great time, and spent a couple years doing that. And I owned a gym, a training facility at the time. And I, just being out and noticing that while I was playing disc golf, a lot of my, friends, they were complaining of shoulder issues, or their elbows hurting, or they weren't, they were upset with how, they weren't getting the distance that they wanted. And I thought, well, I've got a background in strength and conditioning. That's what my degree is in, kinesiology and strength and conditioning. I own a gym, and I spent about a year, just over a year and a half with um, a professional hockey team as their intern strength coach, working with the players there. And so I thought, you know what, I think I should, you know, give some advice, see if anyone's open to it. I looked and no one was doing anything. There was like an old article from Avery Jenkins, um, and that was it. And so that's kind of my story into disc golf. Got just addicted to it, just started playing it so much, and then officially started Disc Golf Strong, launched it in the beginning of 2016. Um, so I kind of started the idea back in 2014, 2015, launched in 2016, and here we are in 2020.
In that time period from about 2012 to 2016, were you playing yourself once you found that league? Were you going out and playing?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was going out. I was playing. My training facility that I had, I was pretty busy there, but I would, as often as as I could, I would go out and I would play. Especially on the weekends, or we'd be doing dubs on Sundays and things like that. So yeah, I was definitely playing.
Nice. That's awesome. And I got to know, because I am somewhat of a hockey guy, I'm paying attention to the Stanley Cup playoffs right now. What hockey team were you with?
Nice, the Anaheim Ducks.
Okay. Okay. Nice. Nice. Nice.
This was
Nice.
like, this was 2010, 2011, 2011, 2012. So like Tamu, Getzlaf days,
Yep.
back then. Yeah.
Nice. Nice. That's awesome. Now, this is
For
not disc
sure.
golf related, but real quick, do you have a prediction for who you think is going to win the Stanley Cup in 2020?
I have no idea. To be honest, this year I haven't looked at it at all. We're doing so much with Disc Golf Strong and the Pro Tour and that right now that I had to kind of limit my sports in this moment. So I
No,
wish
you're
I
all
did.
good, man.
I'm
All
gonna
good.
say, but I have some friends still in hockey. So one of my buddies is the strength coach for the Sharks. So I don't know where they're at right now, but let me go Sharks because
Heard that. Heard that. So I guess let's talk a little bit about disc golf strong. If for the new listeners, or the guys who are really new into disc golf, during the COVID time they just kind of got into it. Could you kind of help explain, I guess, what is disc golf strong? What is the purpose of it, and where can people, follow, get that kind of information at?
Yeah, absolutely. So our mission with Disc Golf Strong is to help disc golfers of all ages, abilities, skill levels play strong and healthy disc golf and athletic disc golf, and play really as much and as long as they want. Because there was when I first started Disc Golf Strong, I was looking online to see if there was any research on injuries, and there was one research study out of the University of Arizona that showed about an 81% injury rate in the sport. And that was AMs. They were not studying the pro side of the sport. And so I was like, wow, there are so many injuries here. And looking around and realizing that nobody was even warming up. Warming up was walking up with a cup of coffee and a
Yeah.
couple of putters and throwing, and then two off of the whole one, and then go. If you weren't playing a tournament, and so that's why I started Disc Golf Strong. Is we're athletes, whether we're professional athletes, disc golf athletes, or we're amateur disc golf athletes. We all wanna play well. We all want to play forever. As long as we can
Yeah.
hold a disc and throw it, we want to be able to do it. And with that high of an injury rate and that low of a rate of us putting in the work and having the understanding of what it takes to kind of prepare our bodies as athletes, train so we can compete as one, whether it's pro or am. That's what we do. We help with helping disc golfers maximize their athletic potential on the course and be the best that they can be and that they want to be. And then
So
to the question of where they can find us. I mean, we have Disc Golf Strong on YouTube, our Instagram, Disc Golf Strong, Facebook. We have the Disc Golf Strong Fitness Community, which is a private. It's not private. It's a public Facebook group. There's around 5,000 people in there now. Where I post content in there, and people can go in and check it out and learn more. And then we have other things like we have the Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle and the Performance Academy, and that's all at discgolfstrong.com. But yeah, that's our goal is to help disc golfers compete at their best.
So let's talk about warming up.
Yeah.
What would you suggest for someone? I guess I don't know if it would be different the routine you would give to someone that's at a pro level versus someone that's an AM that's doing a tournament. What does a routine warm up look like, or that you would suggest to somebody?
Yeah, absolutely. Warming up when I first started, that's like the first thing I put out back in 2016 was the Disc Golf Strong pre-round warm up because I thought if there's something that we can do right now to make the greatest impact on our game, both on our improving our performance and lowering our injury risk, it would to be warm up our bodies because you look at every other sport. Let's talk about hockey. Let's talk about football, baseball. What are all those athletes doing before they practice or they compete? Right? They're warming up, and that's not even at the pro level. You go watch a soccer game, in junior high, in high school. What are they doing? They're going to warm up, right? So that's why I was like, okay, we need to make a big impact. We need to warm up our bodies, but we need to warm up the right way and in a manner that is not going to take us too far out of our element. So I didn't want to have, put anything out there and say, okay, you need like 4 different pieces of equipment and you need, a 20 by 20 space and you need, this, that. It was something that we can do right where we're standing and we can get it done quickly and it's going to get all the right areas for us as disc golf athletes. So the Disc Golf Strong pre-round warm-up, it takes you from, mobilizing your shoulders, getting your shoulders warmed up, getting your upper back mobile and warmed up, your hips, your core, gets a little like jumping in there because we jump in disc golf, with that X step. There's jumping, it's hopping, it's small, but it is. Our body's got to be able to respond to that. So one big thing with warming up that we do in Disc Golf Strong and that you do in a lot of professional sports, and it continues to grow, is getting away from static stretching for warm up. So, the static stretching is the old pin and stretch, reach down to try to touch your toes to stretch your hamstring, bring your arm across your chest, stretch your shoulder out, hold it
Right.
for 20, 30 seconds. Things that I did back in high school, I'm sure you all did, and they still do today a lot because a lot of them are coaches who are just, they're sports coaches, which are very valuable, but they don't have, they're not up to date with the latest research. It's showing that kind of static stretching can actually potentially increase our injury rate. And if we're doing a powerful movement, it can lower our ability to express power for a short amount of time. So we go through a dynamic stretch, which is moving your joints through a full range of motion. So you're stretching the muscles, you're warming everything up, but you're doing it dynamically, and you're getting the nervous system like really fired up. And if you want at the end, I can tell we got a free pre-round warm-up ebook. I can tell everyone where to go download that. It just in your email, and you get the whole ebook with the videos and everything. And it's the same warm-up that I do with the pros on tour. So it's going to be the same one that Paige Pierce does, same one that Ricky Wysocki does, all them, because there's really not much difference except for us as AMs if we're sitting at a desk all day or we're not moving our bodies like, say, a pro is where they're out there and they're moving all day. We're just going to have to do a few more reps. We're going to be a little tighter in certain areas where they're going to be a little looser. There's some changes like that, but for the most part, it's the same thing.
Yeah, that's really important. And I think it's one of those things that I imagine you've seen it as well, is that actually warming up makes your round go by so much faster. I know we've played a couple of tournaments where, you'll have guys who the front nine, absolutely terrible. And then the back nine, they're a completely different disc golfer. And I think there's a couple of key reasons for that. One, like you were saying, is the ability to actually get warm, make sure you're reducing that injury. But also something that I really wanted to hone in on was kind of that static stretching and how it can almost limit your power. Could you potentially go into a little bit more detail as to, why that happens? Or, I know you just mentioned the one where, you kind of hold your arm across your shoulder for 30 seconds or however it is. But like, are there any other stretches that maybe people think that they're really good, but they're really not, that could actually be limiting your power? And I guess, could you also kind of explain how it limits the power, if that makes sense?
Yeah, absolutely. So they did a research study. I've done more since then, but one of the big studies that came out years ago, they had people do vertical jumps. So they would, they took groups. They had one group static stretch and then do a vertical jump, and base it off of what they did before they stretched. Right, they had one group static stretch and they had one group not stretch at all, and the group that static stretch did worse than the group that dynamically stretched and the group that didn't stretch at all. Okay, didn't do any static stretching at all. Right, so static stretching, like, it came around where it feels good, but it came around a time where they didn't really have research. It was just kind of like, oh, I feel tight. Okay, let me do this, and I feel like I'll be less tight. Right, I know we're on a podcast, so let me bring my arm across my chest and stretch, and I'll feel less tight. Right, so when we stretch statically, we're temporarily lengthening a muscle, and we're relaxing a tendon, and we are, so to speak, not really putting it to sleep, but we're telling it to relax. Well, what are we as athletes in disc golf? We're creating power, right? We want to be like, if I came up to you and I tried to snap you with a rubber band that's been laying out in the sun for, forever, you wouldn't feel anything. If I pulled out a fresh rubber band, that elasticity of it, you're gonna feel that. You're gonna feel that snap. So we need that stiffness. We need that to spring, to load and explode. So if we're stretching a muscle statically and we are kind of putting it into a relaxed mode, telling it to cool down and now be powerful, right? Create tension. That's not good, right? You don't go bow hunting and then you take the bow and you take all the tension out of the out of the bow and then try to shoot the arrow, right? You want that snap and you want that power, that elasticity. So that's what we're thinking. That's what we're doing when we static stretch. So we try to stay to dynamic stretching, where it's just very quick, moving through a range of motion and warming everything up while you're doing it. And you're going to get so many more benefits when you dynamically stretch. Leg swings, hip circles. These things are inside the warm-up that I have out, because you're not only moving the joint through the full range of motion, you're not only warming up the muscle tissue, but you're getting an elevated heart rate, you're elevating your body temperature, you're stimulating your nervous system. These are things that static stretching doesn't do. Static stretching is not going to stimulate your nervous system and get you all primed and ready to go,
Right.
So that's really the difference there and why we choose one over the other.
Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about that dynamic and bringing that into the game once you actually start playing. Because I know a lot of people, definitely friends or people that don't play, they're like, well, it's not a real sport. Or like disc golf, you're just tossing around a disc, and they don't give it that. They're not seeing the level that the pros are playing at.
Mm-hmm.
Paige Pierce is a great example. Like, she's not a super tall athlete, or but the amount of power that she's able to put out, and I'm sure it's a lot of what you guys have been working with, but that explosion. So whether it's your drive or jump putting, how important is that explosion in the body, and how can you work on that as an athlete in disc golf?
Yeah, absolutely. So A big part of it is the explosion. A big part is the pushing, but the other part, which is the most important part when it comes to not only transferring our power, but injury prevention, is the slowing down. It's the braking effect. Okay, so it's the when Paige plants her leg, her body is absorbing that force, and now she's bringing it in, she's absorbing that force to now let it transfer out the other way, so in up and through her body into the disc. So um, warming up is going to not only, all the things that I already talked about, but it's going to help with absorbing force, because one of the exercises we do is jumping, and it's lateral hops side to side. Okay, so you're just jumping side to side, and you're learning how to jump and explode one way and then absorb force the other way. Okay, because like I said, injuries, if you ever see someone in baseball, a hitter, they hit and they run to first base, when do they pull their hamstring? Not when they're leaving from home plate, it's when they're trying to slow down. Because they're trying to slow their body down. They're trying to decelerate. When you decelerate a limb, you're really putting a lot of energy, of force into that. It's your muscles, to your joints, to your ligaments, your tendons, right? So jumping is really important part of warming up. And, we see so many injuries in disc golf for many reasons. To go back to, to your point where you say, well, people say, oh, it's not a real sport and stuff. We need to think of it as a sport, because it is. Our bodies in disc golf, our bodies demand us to be more athletic, whether we like it or not. We can say, I don't think so, but when you go to throw a disc, your body is demanding that you be athletic. Now, you don't have to be athletic. And when I say athletic, I'm not meaning Kevin Jones athletic, like you don't have to be
Yeah.
like that, right? But you have to work on some mobility. You have to work on some strength in your body. You have to work on some stability. You don't have to. We can, you're going to be able to throw a disc, right?
Yeah.
But most people, I would say, are not happy with the results of not only their distance, but their accuracy, their consistency, right? All of that. So if you, so if we don't think of it as a sport and we just go out there and play, we can do it, but we just don't know how long we'll be able to do it, right? And the great thing about disc golf is you can play every day, and the bad thing about disc
Yeah.
golf is you can play every day, right? Even if you shouldn't,
Yeah.
right? Overuse injuries. Think about, a baseball pitcher. If a professional baseball pitcher walked in and I gave him a bucket of 100 balls and I said, hey, I want you to throw these as hard as you can 6 days a week, what would he say? He would look at me and go, you're crazy.
Yeah.
Like my arm's going to fall off, right? But in disc golf, we'll go out there and we'll do field work and we'll play 2 rounds a day, and we'll put so much volume on our body. Well, strength and conditioning. And, I tell people, first, you got to look to see if you have a volume issue. Are you doing way too much work? Is that why you're hurting? And is that one of the reasons why? But then go back and start doing some training. You don't got to do a lot. You don't got to train like, they do in the NFL or anything, but just doing some things for your body is going to be important. One last point is going back to you saying that, we think of it, we don't think of it as a sport, right? That's one thing that is really important that, I'm really hoping to change, and it is changing, is
Yeah.
the culture in our sport. Not only the mindset, but the culture. All right. So in 2016, nobody was warming up. I started working with Sarah Hokum and Madison Walker in 2016, Rick Iwasaki in the beginning of 2017. When they would go and they would warm up and do my warm up, people were just walking right by them. Now it's a totally different thing. Health and fitness in disc golf is totally different. I'm on the PDGA medical committee. We didn't even have a medical committee back then. We're with the Disc Golf Pro Tour, full all year round. It's changing that culture, and we can do that on the AM side as well. And I'm an AM, and I play with AMs, and we go and we got to change that culture where if we see somebody warming up like we're like, oh yeah, I gotta go do that. Not that you know, what the heck is that person doing? You know, and the more we change that culture, the better our sport's going to be, and the better we are going to be, and the better we can grow the sport both through ourselves and through other people. Um, because the culture is a big thing. If you go into professional baseball or you go into baseball and somebody's not warming up, what is everyone else thinking?
He's
They're thinking,
lazy. Guy's
they're thinking, what are
lazy.
you
What is he
doing, dude?
doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, get off the bench. Get out here with
Yeah.
us, right? Yeah, right. He's lazy. That you would never think that, but in our sport, we think that it won't, because I think also we don't think it will help. But I tell my athletes, you know, professional sports teams spend hundreds of thousands of dollars in strength and conditioning coaches, facilities, off-season workouts, in-season training. They wouldn't do that just because they have extra money to spend because ticket prices are so high, right? They do that because they know that science and empirical evidence of people doing it shows that it lowers their athletes' injury risk, it keeps them on the field longer, and it helps them perform better. So we change that culture, and then hopefully in the future, you know, I am hopeful about it that we won't have that problem where everyone will show up and everyone's warming up.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think that's really good. I think that's something that inevitably is going to be super important for disc golf to actually kind of get on the mainstream. I think the big first step was getting that CBS coverage, which was pretty dang good, by the way. If you haven't seen it, hopefully you recorded it or something like that so you can watch it, because it was very good content. And I'm glad that you brought up the professionalism, and I kind of want to sit here just real quick. And I think it's one of those things where, you know, maybe it's not necessarily one of those things where golf, you know, everyone is, you know, they have their collared shirt on, they've got their nice pants and their nice shoes, and, you know, they're playing like that. But, you know, showing up to the course, you know, looking good, feeling good, actually doing those warm-ups, I really do think it helps. I know Horatio and I, we try to warm up before every single tournament, and maybe we I know I should definitely be doing more stretches and less just going out there and throwing it before heading over to the tee. But I think it's one of those things where if we can actually make it a culture of, you know, moving on from who are those hippies out in the park just throwing frisbees to this is actually sport. These are things. I mean, I know in Horatio's local area, there's a high school who has a 9-hole disc golf course on their actual high school. They're planning to make it an 18 course. So, I mean, if we can get more kids actually involved in this sport, because you can't tell me that a baseball player can't go out and play disc golf. You can't tell me that literally anyone cannot go out and go play disc golf. So why can't you have, you know, disc golf? Maybe you have a fall term and you have a spring term for high school kids, middle school kids, whatever it is. And I think that could be something that's really, really important to actually changing the culture around disc golf and kind of that public perception. So I just kind of wanted to ask you, you know, what are your thoughts on that? What are your thoughts on, you know, obviously warming up's important, doing the stretching, that stuff is very important, but what are maybe some other ways that we can change the culture to make disc golf look more like a legitimate sport? And how long, I guess, do you think it would take for some of those things to be implemented?
Yeah, are you thinking more on like on the pro level or am level right now?
I guess, I mean, either
In
or.
general.
I think
Yeah.
just in general is fine. If you want to break it up into both, that's perfectly fine as well, because I know it probably is a different answer for both of those.
Yeah, there's some things that, you know, some subtle differences that, you know, could be you know, fleshed out. But let's say for am, you know, to make it feel more professional, like the culture is definitely changing. I know I've seen it just in the, you know, short time that I've been involved in the sport. I've seen a big change in the culture, not just on the strength and conditioning, not just on the athlete side, but also just in general of, you know, tournaments and people showing up and wanting to make sure that tournaments are more professionally run, you know, and so if you look at high schools, you look at colleges, you look at, you know, other organizations. Let's just, you know, any organization, like, you know, my daughters are, you know, involved in the Girl Scouts, right? We want to, if we want to reach those organizations, those schools, they are they they are very comfortable with structure. They're comfortable with things that look professional. They are comfortable with, um, really making sure they want to make sure that anything they're involved with is something that is going to be um, positively impactful for them. And we know that disc golf is so
Yeah.
it's not, other some aspects of disc golf, there's that in every sport, right? But if we're just now approaching the professionalism and to grow the sport and reach it out to other people and other organizations and things like that, is taking ourselves more seriously. I talk about, as an athlete, what's as a disc golfer, it's so important to think of yourself as an athlete and have that identity as an athlete. Because if you identify yourself as an athlete, whether you're pro or am, then doing things like growing the sport, doing the things like taking care of your body, doing the things like, getting out there and raising the professionalism of something that you want to invest your time and energy into. That's something that an athlete does, right? And so if we identify ourselves as athletes and go, I'm an athlete, and I generally, if I have very limited time, we're all busy. If I'm very limited time, but I want to go out and I want to do something I enjoy, I want to make sure that it's well worth my time and that time investment that I have away from my family. And if I can help it and I can grow it and things like that, like that's that first thing is just we got to go internal first inside us before we really, then we can grow external from there on different strategies, but my friend Zoe Andike, she's also a disc golf strong athlete and she's touring pro, but she's off the tour right now because she has her company. She has a nonprofit that she helps teach schools. She goes into schools. You play DG, you play disc golf. She's out of Oregon. Her and Dustin Keegan run it. And that's what they're trying to do is raise
Yeah.
that professionalism, and go out there and show people and show the communities that, like, this is a great way to stay healthy, to move your bodies, to play forever. All your best friends become disc golfers, all
Yeah.
that stuff.
Which I think that's a really good point about the professionals. And I think that's the thing they're doing great right now is taking a lot of that pressure on themselves to grow the sport and make it more professional. Because there's a lot of people who I've seen in the comments talking about why are we trying to make disc golf something it's not, trying to make it the sport that it's not. It's a relaxed vibe. And I think for those people, I think they shouldn't have any reason to be scared. Like you're always going to have those leagues. Like if you want to play for fun, you want to go hang out, you want to go drink, there's always going to be those leagues. You can always go to the courses for free. Hopefully it stays like that. And you can go do that for fun. Just with basketball, you can go meet buddies at the park and do a pickup game of basketball or soccer games where people go and they finish and they have a 12 pack of beer and
Mm-hmm.
people continue to do that and they're competitive. They play for fun, but they don't want to go to that next level. And I think it's not fair to the people that are competitive and want to grow and want to see it be on that same level as professional soccer, professional baseball, and all those things. I think there's plenty of room for both to
Mm-hmm.
have relaxed, go hang out with your friends, play disc golf for fun, but also have it on the world level where people are taking it seriously.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm full agreement with you. Absolutely.
Yeah. All right. Well, I got a couple more questions before we get into our ace round. The first one is, what can people be doing while they're at home? Maybe workouts and stuff like that. Because, when I think of an NFL player or MLB, NBA, whatever it is, even going back to my own experience in weights class in high school, is all you got to put on the most absolute muscle you can, those kinds of things, So, what are maybe some workouts people can do at home to get stronger for disc golf? And B, what have you seen maybe as the most common injury in disc golf? Is it the shoulder? Is it the elbow? Is it the hip? I know myself personally, I've had shoulder issues through baseball, and I recently messed up and somehow hurt my hip in disc golf. So that's something that I kind of have to rehab from right now. So what have you seen as the biggest kind of injury point? And on that singular point, what do you think is one thing that can kind of, I guess, limit that injury or maybe make the rehab better?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll mention a few exercises, but with it being a audio podcast, I'm gonna point everyone to a YouTube channel or to
Yeah.
getting some resources that are free out there for them, where they can actually watch the videos and get into them. First, the big thing is uh, training like an athlete. So there's a difference between exercising. Like there's a difference between exercising and working out versus training, and that's the one big thing that I always hit on first is working out, exercising. Those are great, but that is moving your body in order to burn calories, to sweat, to get out of breath, to maybe crawl out of the gym, right? And there's times and places for those, right? That's different than training. Training is working out with a purpose. So that is exercise that are selected specifically to help you as a disc golfer improve your body and improve your performance, right? So there's a lot of a lot of people go to YouTube and they can see, oh, this program that I can do, I can put in a DVD and I can do it. That's great. That's general fitness. That's just sweat and burn calories and everything, but that's different than training your body for a sport, right? So I say that because when you look at a lot of the exercises that I have out there for foundational exercises for disc golfers, they don't look anything like you're going to get on these high intensity interval training, like people are crawling to their bed, right? Programs. It's things that are getting your shoulder stabilizing muscles engaged, getting your core engaged in the right way for disc golf, working on the small little deep muscles around your hip to keep your hip joint from popping out while you're rotating. Things that are foundational that you can do at home, body weight, and they're not going to crush you, right? That's the difference between training and working out. I remember when I was with the Ducks, I walked in there thinking, oh my gosh, best athletes, top athletes in the sport, in the world. I'm going to see them doing the craziest stuff in the gym. They were doing dead bugs on the ground, bird dogs, planks, side planks, Turkish get-ups. I was like, what? I was thinking, where's all the crazy stuff? And my strength coach said, Seth, these are professional athletes, not professional exercisers. If I crush them
Yeah.
and they can't put on skates and get on the ice, I'm going to lose my job. I'm not here to be the main thing. I'm here to support them as an athlete. And I do the same thing in disc golf, right? My workouts are not going to crush you. Can you increase the intensity? Absolutely. But it's specific things that are going to help you as an athlete. So things like I said, core strengthening, not sit-ups or crunches, no sit-ups or crunches. I have a video on YouTube about why you shouldn't do any sit-ups or crunches and what to do instead. So check out the Disc Golf Strong YouTube channel for that. No sit-ups or crunches. Hurt your lower back. Could. The doing things that mobilize your upper back that you can rotate through, mobilize your hips, get your hips engaged. A big thing with disc golf is technique, right? We all want better technique. Well, the problem is that we try to apply a technique solution to a movement problem. So we go, oh man, why is this technique drill not working? Why can't I get my reach back? I've tried 10 technique drills to get a better reach back. I look at their mobility. I'm like, dude, your upper back is so tight and stiff, you can't even rotate through your upper back. So it doesn't matter how many drills you have. Your body can't even get into that position. So get your body in that position first with some mobility work, some other, soft tissue work, and then apply that technique solution. Don't apply a technique solution to a movement problem, right? So that's where I hit first is you don't have to do anything crazy. If you're a brand new, you're saying, hey, I'm not big into exercising and I don't have time for an hour training session. You know what? The Disc Golf Strong Inner Circle that I have, it's my membership site. Our Inner Circle members, our Performance Academy members, they're doing things that are 5 minutes, 10 minutes, 20 minutes. They're doing things that they can do in their house. They're doing things they can do on the road in their hotel room when they're out for a tour. You don't have to have equipment. Sure, you can. There are exercises you can move to with equipment, but you don't have to do equipment. that's the first thing, because when I say, I usually when I get into exercises, it's usually not the exercises that keeps people from doing it. It's the figuring out implementing it and thinking that they have to do an hour or they have to sweat like crazy or be out of breath.
Yeah.
And that's what keeps them from doing it. So first I try to reassure people, you don't have to crush yourself to be a better disc golfer, to optimize your body as a disc golf athlete. So go for specific exercises, go, check out my Instagram. I got videos on there. I got videos on my YouTube channel. I got some training programs. There's a Disc Golf Strong app that I use both for my inner circle, and there's a free app. It's the same app, but the free version, you just log in, create an account, and there's some jump start body weight programs in there. There's the pre-round warm up in there, and there's our exercise library of over 400 exercises in there that they can go through. They want something a little more in depth, if they want something more in depth, they can check out the inner circle. But go into now your question about the injury. What's the most common injury? The most common injury in disc golf is the overuse injury. That's the most common injury, right? Going back to my earlier quote. All right, the best thing about disc golf is you can play every day. The worst thing about disc golf is you can play every day, right? Professional baseball players would not go out there. Pitchers would not go out there and throw every single day. They're on a pitching rotation, right? We're throwing athletes. We need to rest our body. Rest is just as important as, the resistance. So it's overuse. People have a volume. We have a volume issue. I had a guy one time come up to me and he said, man, my elbow is killing me. I've tried a million things. Like, what do I do to get rid of this elbow pain? I've tried all these exercises. He told me what exercises, he told me what he was doing with the treatment. And I said, oh, that all sounds really good. He goes, well, why isn't it changing? I said, how often are you throwing a week? He goes, I throw like 6 times a week. I'm usually playing, 2 rounds. I try to get out there 2 rounds. I'm doing field work. I'm like, you got you got a volume issue more than you've got an exercise or treatment issue. You're doing a lot of really great stuff, but you're going out there and you're just banging away these shots, right? We have a joke in the health and fitness world that somebody walks into the doctor and they're hitting their thumb with a hammer just repeatedly. And they walk in, they say, Doc, I got to tell you, my thumb is just killing me. Do you got something? Can you inject it with something? Should I add more ice? Should I do this? Should I do that? Are you thinking surgery? The doctor says, okay, first, stop hitting your thumb with the hammer. Like that's the number one thing you have to stop doing, and then we can figure out everything else. So my advice on that is think about your volume count. How much volume are you putting into your body? How much volume are you putting into your shoulder? Are you getting enough rest? Are you getting enough recovery? That's something I'm working on the Pro Tour right now with a lot of my pros, that they're throwing so much and they weren't doing any recovery work. And so I guess that's my answer. Overuse injury is the most common injury. It shows up in your shoulder or it shows up in your elbow. Maybe it shows up in your hip, shows up somewhere. It can show up multiple places, but that is the most common thing. And so volume control, but also strengthening your body is going to be a big, big part of it. We come at it from a couple different directions to make sure that you're healthy and feeling good.
Nice. I've definitely learned a lot through that. Horatio, are you ready for the ace round?
I just had one quick thing on the overuse just right before we get into that, because I know there's a lot of new players who they're going to hear that and they're going to say, well, I want to play every day, especially before the weather gets cold or gets bad. Would you say that – what about putting? Would you say that that's okay for, like, recovery? So if you're doing field work twice a day working on your driving, what about if you're taking some days off from playing and you go and just putt in your garage or in your driveway for an hour, maybe not from 40, 50 feet, but maybe, just working on your circle one 30-foot putts? Is that okay? I feel like that would be –
Yeah, that's all right. I would say, that would be something where you start to just pay attention to what's going on in your shoulder. If you start to feel overuse injuries, you start to feel your shoulder getting a little fiery, a little hot, you start to feel your elbow, break it up. If you got, 10-minute sessions, 10 minutes of putting, 10 minutes of putting, take a break, go back 10 minutes, you can break it up throughout the day too. But
Yeah.
if you just got an hour, go out there an hour, but I would say, mix it up as well while you're doing your putting so that you're not just constantly doing the same
Yeah.
motion over and over and over again, because it doesn't matter what it is, our arm is still extending. We're still using our wrist flexor muscles. We're still using our muscles in our, in our forearm and our shoulder and our core, our hip while we're doing putting. Just to hit that before we hit this ace round, to kind of, your point on overuse, and people, new players do want to go out there every day, and I definitely understand that, right? That's one of the great things about our sport is just we fall in love with it. We want to
Yeah.
try to get good really quickly, right? Even though in many other sports it takes many years to get to good,
Yeah.
right? But in our sport we want to get good, as fast as we can. One big thing, and I talk about this a lot on my pro side, and also in our performance academy right now. This week is called the Prepared Disc Golf Athlete. So all our focus this week is on preparing ourselves for our field work, for our tournaments. And one thing I talk about is that they need to be their own coach. I have a professional disc golfer I was talking to one time, and this person played high level sport and was also a coach in that sport. And I said, so when you go out and you do field work, what are you doing when you go out there? And that person was like, oh, well, I just empty my bag and just throw a bunch of discs, and I just go and I just go and I go, right? I said, when you played in your sport at a higher level, and all the way up to that level, were the coaches ever, like, when you showed up for practice, were the coaches like, hey, we're just going to do a little bit of random of this, and maybe we'll do a little bit of random of that, and maybe we'll just do this over and over and over again nonstop? No, they have a full structure, right? A coach has a structure to a practice. And when this person was a coach, I said, what did you do with your athletes, your youth? He said, they showed up. I said, okay, these are our strengths. These are our weaknesses. This is where we need to improve. These are the things we're going to focus on only. We could focus on everything, but that's not going to be productive. I'm going to focus on these things only, right? So we have to be our own coach when we go out and we go to field and
Okay.
we're learning and go, is it going to be productive for me to just empty my bag and just throw over and over and over and over again? Or should I figure out some system, either learn it from somebody or, or figure out on my own of, I should just throw a little bit of this. And today is only, standstill putter shots. Like, this is all I'm focusing on. It's going to limit our time. So we're not spending way more time out there. And then we're going to leave the field feeling so much better, right? We're going to leave the field not going, man, I emptied my bag 7 times and I threw all those discs. No, we're going to be like, my Annie putter standstill approach shots are like dialed in today. Like, so cut it down and be your own coach. And you're going to also reduce some of those overuse injuries because you're not just showing up and throwing. You're going to get better a lot faster as well because you have a plan in place.
I think that's incredible advice and something that I know I'll definitely be able to walk away from this interview and apply that literally in 20 minutes or whatever when I go out and go throw. And I think another thing that I've learned just in hearing you talk is that I probably should not, when I go out there, throw 3 or 4 discs on every single hole off the tee. I should probably only throw the one, maybe 2, and get better in a different way and actually, work on some other things. But I thought that was really, really good discussion. Let's get into the ace round now, guys. Let's start here with the first question, Seth. So you're taking a buddy, they've never played disc golf before, to go play. What is the one putter, the one mid, and the one driver that you would recommend to them?
They've never played.
They've never played.
Okay. Well, right now my bag is all trilogy. So I throw mostly DD, so that's where I'm going to kind of go with that. So I would take them out. I would probably give them a judge, and then I would give them a truth, maybe an EMAC Truth. Maybe
Love
they
that
need a little
EMAC
bit more of
Truth.
that understability, right? I love EMAC Truth too, but maybe they need a little more of that, little more understable. Um, and then I would give them probably, depending on who it is. My daughter, she throws the Jade. She throws all those. If I
Yeah,
want them to be successful, I'm not going to tell them
yeah,
this is a beginner disc. I'm going to tell them this is a foundational disc. you know.
yeah. Cool. One quick on that one before we go question number two. New player, arm speed, speed disc. When someone wants to go out and get a driver, they're gonna want to get. They're not gonna really look at that arm speed. So like a 12 or a 13 speed disc. Would you suggest a new player just since they don't have that form, that muscle memory, uh, maybe start with a fairway driver or a lower speed driver?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I would say that. And even when you hear pros say it, even though when they first started a long time ago, they were going for the bigger stuff. Now, looking back, if they were to do it over again, they would start with the slow stuff, right? Throw putters first, get good at that, and then work your way up. If I never knew how to drive and someone threw me in the middle of a NASCAR event and said, or on a track and said, drive as fast as you can, I'd be like,
Yeah,
maybe I should drive around some cones first. I don't know. Like, I don't even know
yeah,
what I'm doing here, right? So same thing is that's why I called it a foundational disc, and
yeah,
we can have other names for it, but instead of a beginner disc, I like it like a foundational disc because people want to move on from beginner really fast,
yeah.
but maybe foundational stuff they don't. They're okay with
Okay.
it.
Cool, awesome. Okay, question number two. The favorite course you have played and the course you would love to play.
I would say the favorite course that I've played is uh, Got This, and I have to say it that way. Got This in Finland. It's in Numela, Finland. I was over there for a month last year for the European Open, and I traveled around, taught some clinics and stuff in the Dooney. Got This in Finland. It was one of the most amazing course I ever played. They have a full time care taker of the property to clean, to
Wow.
mow, and to
Wow.
everything. It's Kaatis. In Finnish, they pronounce every single letter, like every single. So it's Kat is Kaatis. I asked what it was. I said, "What is Kat this?" They said, "Oh, it's on an old garbage dump." And I was like, "Really?" I said, "What does got this mean?" They said it means garbage dump. I said, "Wow, you guys are really literal here." Okay, so
Oh,
like
that's good.
you're really literal. Okay,
That's-
um, I played Yatarva too, and in Sweden, and they say that it's the Yatarva of Finland. So if anyone ever made it to Finland, definitely Yatarva. Now, let me just say, you here in the United States, I love Milo up in Oregon. I mean, I love Milo McIver. It's just so beautiful. So yeah, that's my favorite. And then, do you say what course would I want to play?
On your bucket list, yeah, one that you would want, definitely.
Yeah, so I think they haven't been built yet. They haven't been put in the ground, but I can't wait for the new courses. I'm gonna go international again. Sorry, but in the Åland Islands, I don't know if you heard about that,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
there when I was coming across when I was out there, me and the Oakleys were taking a cruise, a ship back from Sweden to Finland, and we went through the Åland Islands. It's like 20,000 islands, and they're just
yeah,
amazing. They're just beautiful. So they're gonna put like 16 courses or something
yeah, yeah.
out there. So
Nice.
just by going through there, I was like, I want to come back here just so that I can come back to these islands. That's where I'm gonna go with those.
Nice. That's awesome. That sounds super exciting. Definitely makes me want to travel internationally and head over
Yeah.
to those places and play
Yeah.
those courses. Our third question here is, if you could go back in time, and what would be the one tip that you would give yourself when you're just starting disc golf? I think I know what the answer is, but what would be that one tip that you would give yourself?
The one tip that I would give myself, let's say if I starting again, but still being a strength and conditioning coach, I'm going to rule out warming up and stuff because I would already be doing that. Um, my one tip would be to uh, really structure myself in my practice, not
Okay.
just go out there and throw. Because when I first started, even though I was a strength coach, I mean, I got the bug too, and I went out there and I just threw all the time, and I wasn't getting as I wasn't improving as fast as I want to be. Yeah, I was improving, but it wasn't until it wasn't until later that I really started to really look into our training and how we practice and stuff like that versus other sports. So I would say go back is just grab putters, start from there, and don't worry about the basics. You know, don't worry about the basics. Derek Jeter, even until he left baseball, right until he left baseball, he was still practicing fielding ground balls and throwing them to first. Something he's been doing since he was probably 8 years old. They're
Yeah.
not basics; they're fundamentals, right? Tom Brady still gets the ball snapped to him, still throw 5 yards to to the tight end. Things they've been doing forever. So that would be is stay there more, build that up, and then everything else will be easier in the long run.
Cool. Great answer. Question number 4: favorite memory playing disc golf or training? I guess for you.
My favorite memory playing disc golf. I would say my favorite memory playing disc golf right now would be um, couple years ago. It was up at before Beaver State Fling, and I was with a couple players, and it was a mob round. It was a practice round a couple days before Beaver State Fling at Milo, and there was like 8 of us, and it took us hours because we were just having so much fun, and we were just having a good time with each other, and it was just a great experience to just be out there and just experiencing that course with friends, because that's really, I mean, for most of us, that's what it's about, right? I mean, we
Yeah.
love watching we love watching frisbees fly, right? We love
Yeah.
watching discs and flight, right? But what do we really love too? Our best friends become disc golfers. Our greatest moments are with our friends and on the courses and the experiences we get. So that would be it. And then, did you have a second part of that? Sorry.
Oh, well, I just didn't know if you also want to do, I guess, on the training side, I guess a memory of your
Oh, on the
favorite training.
yeah, on the training side, I would say yeah, going to Europe and teaching clinics there, and teaching. I taught clinics in Finland and Norway and Sweden and Denmark, and really sharing over there and seeing how it's so similar, but there are some differences. You go there. I said, "Hey, we're gonna do a clinic on warming up." I had like 60 people. Like, "Oh, here I am." Like
Uh,
they don't have the culture here, right? They got kind of introduced to it by the pro, kind of by the pro scene more
yeah.
so. Like, yeah, there were people over there before the pro scene, but so they watched the pro side, and then so they're all wearing collared shirts, and they all want to, they all
Uh,
want to do everything they can, but that would be over there is just sharing in the sports and doing teaching clinics and
cool.
with all those disc golfers over there.
Yeah, that's awesome. So our final question, we'll get you out of here on this one is, what is your goal moving forward in disc golf?
My goal moving forward in disc golf, I would say, um, is I'm seeing some of it coming into fruition already with the disc golf pro tour, with the disc golf strong partnering with the disc golf pro tour. So on the pro side, to make sure that there's athletic performance zones and that the athletes are being taken care of as athletes, and even through the PDGA, through the medical committee and stuff, right? So that's happening, and I'm looking forward to seeing it continue to grow. On the AM side, the culture continuing to grow, our youth, right, where we're going out and impacting our younger generation, right, on the benefits of our sport and how it can help them, how it can help in the schools. We all love to play, but a lot of people do get a lot of enjoyment out of teaching someone else, right? So
Yeah.
even someone that says, "Hey, I don't want to grow the sport," you give them a couple discs in their hand and you say, hey, look at those kids over there. They want to learn from you. A lot of them are going to be like, wow, that's cool. And they're going to have fun
Yeah.
going over there and teaching a young kid. I got a 10-year-old and 8-year-old daughters. I love it,
Yeah.
and so they'd want to grow the sport that way. So growing the sport and changing the culture where we start thinking of ourselves as athletes and thinking how we can make sure that, you know, that we don't only have a good 10 years in this sport before we're out of it. Because once you're out of the sport, what do you do? You're going to go carry you got a shoulder injury, you got shoulder surgery, you're going to go carry your buddy's bag just so that you can still be on the course? No. You're probably off the course, maybe you're out of the sport, maybe you're not hanging out with those friends anymore because now you can't go play dubs anymore, right? Because your shoulder's killing you. So the more we change the culture of athletes and just doing stuff to keep preparing our bodies, the better we're going to be. So that's kind of where I see it going, and I hope to see it continue to go.
Yeah, absolutely. Love that
Awesome.
answer. Love the discussion we had today. Hopefully, Seth, you enjoyed it as well. I know the listeners definitely will get a ton of value out of this episode. I know myself, I've gotten a ton of value out of this episode and something that I can literally go and apply to my game in 30 minutes when I go out and start clanking some chains. So, Seth, again, man, we appreciate you coming on. We appreciate what you're doing for the sport, trying to help it grow, and just really appreciate your time coming on. Do you have any final words you want to say, any sponsors you want to thank, anything like that before we get out of here?
No, yeah, thank you both for having me on. It's been a great discussion. Appreciate you giving me, this time to share and with all of our fellow disc golfers. We're all disc golfers. We all love the sport. So I appreciate you giving me that time. If you want to download the Disc Golf Strong ebook, just go to discgolfstrong.com/disc golf athlete. It's discgolfstrong.com/disc golf athlete. Enter your email, free ebook, free jumpstart bodyweight training program, get you started, get you feeling better and moving better. That's it. And I just look forward to further conversations and, maybe meeting you both sometime on the road somewhere at some point.
Thank you for listening to the Chain Clankers podcast. Make sure you follow us on Twitter and Instagram at Chain Clankers and hit that subscribe button wherever you're listening to us from so you never miss another episode.